Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, Bachelor's Degree Program, Elective Course, Rural Development, BRDE 101 Rural Development, Indian Context, Block-2, Unit 4, Human Development. 4.0 Aims and Objectives. The main aim of this unit is to acquaint you with the concept of human development, the historical background of Human Development Report, Human Development Indices, and Human Poverty Index. After studying this unit, you should be able to describe the concept of human development, explain the historical perspective of the Human Development Report and various indices used to measure it, and understand Human Poverty Index. 4.1 Introduction. The term development has become a buzzword since the end of World War II. Every country aspires to become developed. Economically poor countries want to become rich so that living standards of the people, especially those who are poor and deprived, can be raised, and rich countries seek to become richer. It is believed that without getting rich, a country cannot become powerful and strong enough to resist encroachment on their territory by other countries and avoid dependence. It has stirred the poor countries world over to mobilize requisite resources indigenously, if possible, and from other countries, if necessary. Philosophically speaking, economic development is supposed to be the seedbed of all intellectual, moral, spiritual developments. No wonder, then, that John Maynard Keynes insists economic development is the possibility of development. However, primacy of economics in modern times translates the laws of economic relations into standards of societal order. Emerging democracies which are gaining strength day by day questioning the achievements of policies and programs related to development. Thus emphasis was on various components of development like economic, political, social, tribal/rural and urban were laid. But with the passage of time and strengthening of democracy has added new dimension in the emphasis on development. Human development is a reaction to economic growth-oriented approach of the past. In 1970, social thinkers started analyzing the ultimate aim of economic progress and social development. We examine the related features of human development in this background. It is a process of enlarging people's choices. 4.2 Concept of human development. People are the wealth of any nation. Therefore, their development is vital for the overall development of a nation. Human development is a development paradigm about the rise or fall of national incomes. It is about creating an environment in which people can develop their full potential and lead productive and creative lives in accordance with their needs and interests. Development is thus a phenomenon enabling the people to lead the life as they value. It is thus more than economic growth, which is only a means to enlarge people's choices. This way of looking at development should not be forgotten regarding the immediate concern with accumulating commodities and financial wealth. Philosophers, economists and political thinkers have long emphasized human well-being as the purpose and result of development. As Aristotle said in ancient Greece, wealth is evidently not the good we are seeking, for it is merely useful for the sake of something else. In seeking that something else, human development shares a common vision with human rights. The goal is human freedom. And in pursuing capabilities and realizing rights, this freedom is vital. People must be free to exercise their choices and to participate in decision-making that affects their lives. Human development and human rights are mutually reinforcing. They help to secure the well-being and dignity of all people, building self-respect and the respect of others. Thus it enhances various attributes of human well-being. These choices in the well-being of people are reflected in a range of social outcomes such as longevity, literacy and per capita income. Longevity and educational attainments are valued ends in themselves. They contain qualitative and quantitative aspects of an individual's well-being. These outcomes are important for other aspects of well-being. The income per capita incorporates well-being and also it reflects society's attainments on education, health and longevity of its people. It may be mentioned that it is also necessary to review the process of development in terms of socially desirable outcomes and not merely in terms of material benefits. Human development as a process of enlarging people's choices is achieved by expansion of human capabilities and functioning. Fundamental to it is the range of things that people can do or be in life. The most basic capabilities for human development are to lead long and healthy lives, to be knowledgeable, to have access to the resources needed for a decent standard of living. This would enable them to participate in the life of community. Without these, many choices are simply not available and many opportunities in life remain inaccessible. 4.3 Historical perspective of the Human Development Reports. The Human Development Report, HOR, was first launched in 1990 with the single goal of putting people back at the center of the development process in terms of economic debate and policy. The goal was both massive and simple with far-ranging implications. It was to assess the level of people's long-term well-being, bringing about development of the people, by the people, and for the people, and emphasizing it as the goal of development that embodies choices and freedom. Since the first report, new composite indexes for human development have been developed. The followings are the new index. 1. The Human Development Index. 2. The Gender-Related Development Index. 3. The Gender Empowerment Measure. 4. The Human Poverty Index. Each report focuses on a highly topical theme of one of the human development aspects. The Human Development Report is an independent report. It is commissioned by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. It is the product of a selected team of leading scholars, development practitioners and the members of the Human Development Report Office of UNDP. The team has been led by professionals like Dr. Mehboob Haq. National reports place human development at the forefront of the national political agenda. They are tools for policy analysis reflecting people's priorities and strengthening national capacities. They are tools for measuring progress. As instruments for measuring human progress and triggering action for change, these reports promote human development approaches to human rights, poverty, education, economic reform, HIV/AIDS, etc. As policy document, they have introduced the human development concept into national policy. These reports trigger public debate and support for action. Sometimes they become the change agents through human development indicators. Check your progress. 1. Note I. Give your answer in the space given below for each question. 2. Check your answer with the preceding text. 1. What are the important features of human development? 4.4 Human Development Index, HDI. As mentioned above, there are 4 main Human Development Index developed by the Human Development Report. These are summary measure of human development. The first Human Development Report, 1990, introduced a new way of measuring development by combining indicators of life expectancy, educational attainment and income into a composite Human Development Index, the HDI. This includes the state of elderly, the working children, the disabled, violence and crime against women. Besides these social aspects, the physical environment also has a bearing on the well-being of people. At the same time, the development process affects the physical environment. This effect is more or less continuous in one way or the other. The breakthrough for the HDI was the creation of single statistics, which was to serve as a frame of reference for both social and economic development. The HDI sets a minimum and a maximum for each dimension, called goalposts. It shows where each country stands in relation to these goalposts, expressed as a value between 0 to 1. At our national level, HDI, which takes a value between 0 and 1, has improved from 0.381 in 1991 to 0.470 in 2001. In a way, and as a summary measure, it gives a meaningful comparison of human development status between various nations, regions, and states. UN report on the subject generally reflects composite measures on the educational, health and other relevant parameters. The educational component of HDI is comprised of adult literacy rate. Since the minimum adult literacy rate is 0% and maximum is 100%, therefore for a country or state where literacy level is 75%, this component would be 0.75. Similarly, for life expectancy component, minimum value of life expectancy is taken 25 years and maximum value of 85 years. So for a country where life expectancy is 55 years, this component would be 50%. The HDI component therefore facilitates meaningful comparison between various countries or states. As mentioned above, at national level HDI component has improved. It has improved from 0.30 in 1981 to 0.38 in 1991. The corresponding component for rural level has improved from 0.263 to 0.340, and in urban areas this component has improved from 0.442 to 0.51 liters over the same period. Thus we note that there is a gap between the index of urban areas and rural areas of our country, though the ratio of components from urban to rural area has reduced from 1.7 in early 80s to 1.5 in early 90s. GDI, Gender-Related Development Index, the HDI adjusted for gender inequality. This index measures achievements in the same basic capabilities as the HDI does, but takes note of inequality in achievement between women and men. The methodology used imposes a penalty for inequality, such that the GDI falls when the achievement level of both women and men in a country go down or when the disparity between their achievements increases. The greater the gender disparity in basic capabilities, the lower a country's GDI compared with its HDI. The GDI is simply the HDI discounted, or adjusted downwards, for gender inequality. The index is presented as ratio of attainments of female to that of males. Theoretically, this index can take values from 0 to infinity, with a value of unity i.e., 1 would imply absolute equality in the respective attainments of males and females. A value of higher than 1 would imply that females have better attainments than men. GDI at the national level changed from 0.620 in early 80s to 0.676 in the early 90s. At the state level GDI was the highest for Kerala, followed by Manipur, Meghalaya, Himachal Pradesh and Nagaland in the 80s. In the 90s Himachal Pradesh had highest GDI, whereas Bihar had the lowest. In general, in southern states women were better off than those in the Indo-Gangetic plain comprising of the states of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. On the whole, the general disparities have declined between the 2 points of time. GEM, Gender Empowerment Measure, Gender Equality in Economic and Political Participation and Decision-Making. The Gender Empowerment Measure, GEM, evaluates progress in advancing women's standing in political and economic forums. It examines the extent to which women and men are able to actively participate in economic and political life and take part in decision-making. While the GDI focuses on expansion of capabilities, the GEM is concerned with the use of those capabilities to take advantage of the opportunities of life. Worker population ratio, particularly for females in a developing society like India, is a direct measure of the extent of empowerment that females have in a society. Though it is a shame, but frankly no society treats women equal as men. In fact, HPI and GDI are quite interrelated. The countries lowest in HPI are lowest in GDI also. E.g., male, Niger, etc. HPI, Human Poverty Index, the level of human poverty. Rather than measuring poverty by income, the HPI uses indicators of the most basic dimensions of deprivation: a short life, lack of basic education, and lack of access to public and private resources. The HPI concentrates on the deprivation in the 3 essential elements of human life already reflected in the HDI: longevity, knowledge, and a decent standard of living. If women development is about enlarging choices, poverty means a denial of opportunities and choices most basic to human development. Thus, when a person is not free, he is denied access to a decent standard of living, need a long, healthy and creative life. It is a case of human poverty. In such a situation, the individual is not having self-respect, respect of others, dignity and even freedom. From a human development angle, poverty generally means denial of necessary material well-being. Deprivation in health and longevity was captured essentially through the proportion of population without access to basic medical services, proportion of deliveries not receiving medical attention, and proportion of children not immunized reflected deprivation in health attainments. These indicators also reflect the economic inability of the people. Educational deprivations are through illiteracy rates and children in school-going age group not attending school. For a policymaker, the poverty of choices and opportunities are often more relevant than the poverty of income. The poverty of choices as the causes of poverty needs to evolve the strategies and other actions to enhance opportunities for everyone. Recognizing the poverty of choices and the opportunities is more serious issue, which must be addressed in all its dimensions and not income alone. Notwithstanding the above information, there is always a scope for improving the data collected and released by various administrative ministries/agencies. Beyond these indicators, it is necessary to identify other areas of concern which have to be properly blended with these indicators to arrive at a meaningful conclusion. 4.4.1 The Disaggregated Human Development Index. One way the use of the Human Development Index has been improved is through disaggregation. A country's overall index can conceal the fact that different groups within the country have very different levels of human development. Disaggregated HDI are arrived at by using the data for the HDI components pertaining to each of the separate groups. Such groups may be defined relative to income, geographical or administrative regions, urban/rural residents, gender and ethnicity. Using disaggregated HDI at the national and subnational levels helps highlight the significant disparities and gaps among regions, between the sexes, between urban and rural areas and among ethnic groups. The analysis made possible by the use of the disaggregated HDLS should help guide policy and action to address gaps and inequalities. Disparities may already be well known, but the HDI can reveal them even more starkly. Disaggregation by social group or region can also enable local community groups to press for more resources as well as to force accountability on local representatives, making the HDI a tool for participatory development. Disaggregated HDIs have been used extensively for analysis since their inception in several countries such as Brazil, Colombia, Egypt, Gabon, Germany, India, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mexico, Nigeria, Papua New Guinea, Poland, South Africa, Trinidad and Tobago, Turkey, Ukraine and USA. Recent national human development reports in China and Kenya found wide provincial and urban/rural disparities, while a similar study in Guatemala has shown that disparities apply to ethnic group as well. For the Human Development Report 2006, an HDI disaggregated by income groups was calculated for 13 developing countries along with the United States and Finland. The study highlights the differences in human development between different income groups within the same country. Among the results, it was found that the richest 20% of the population in Bolivia had an HDI ranked 97 positions higher than the poorest 20%. Likewise, in South Africa the top quintile ranks 101 positions above the lowest. Furthermore, the top quintile in the United States has an HDI value that exceeds all other countries for which the statistic was computed, while the poorest quintile ranked 49 positions lower. 4.4.2 Uneven Development, Comparing Relative Levels of HDI and Per Capita Income. National wealth has the potential to expand people's choices. However, it may not. The manner in which countries spend their wealth, not the wealth itself, is decisive. Moreover, an excessive obsession with the creation of material wealth can obscure the ultimate objective of enriching human lives, distracting from the ultimate goal of enriching people's lives. In many instances, countries with higher average incomes have higher average life expectancies, lower rates of infant and child mortality and higher literacy rates, and consequently a higher Human Development Index, HDI. But these associations are far from perfect. In inter-country comparisons, income variations tend to explain not much more than half of the variations in life expectancy, or in infant and child mortality. Although there is a definite correlation between material wealth and human well-being, it breaks down in far too many societies. Many countries have high GNP per capita, but low human development indicators and vice versa. While some countries at similar level of GNP per capita have vastly different levels of human development. 4.4.3 Country-specific HDIs. Additional adjustments to the HDI could involve expanding the Breadth of existing component index. For example, the life expectancy category could be adjusted to reflect under 5 or maternal mortality rates. The income component could be adjusted to Red 1 Act unemployment, incidence of income poverty or the Gini-corrected mean national income. And finally, the educational component can be adjusted to include the number of students enrolled in particularly important fields of study, such as mathematics and sciences. It is difficult to use the BRDE to monitor changes in human development in the short term, because two of its components, namely life expectancy and adult literacy, change slowly. To address this limitation, components that are more sensitive to short-term changes could be added to the national HDI. For example, the rate of employment, the percentage of population with access to health services, or the daily caloric intake as a percentage of recommended intakes could be used in place of the traditional indicators of the HDI. Thus, the usefulness and versatility of the HDI as an analytical tool for human development at the national and subnational levels would be enhanced if countries choose components that reflect their priorities and problems and are sensitive to their development levels, rather than rigidly using the 3 components presented in the HDI of the global HDRs. Check your progress too. Note: give your answer in the space given below for each question. 2. Check your answer with the preceding text. 1. Describe Human Development Index. 2. What do you mean by country-specific HDIs? You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU.
4.5 The Human Poverty Index, BPI of human development, is about enlarging choices. Poverty means the denial of opportunities and choices most basic to human development. Thus, person is not free to lead a long, healthy, and creative life and is denied access to a decent standard of living, freedom, dignity, self-respect and the respect of others. From a human development perspective, poverty means more than the lack of what is necessary for material well-being. For policymakers, the poverty of choices and opportunities is often more relevant than the poverty of income. The poverty of choices focuses on the causes of poverty and leads directly to strategies of empowerment and other actions to enhance opportunities for everyone. Recognizing the poverty of choices and opportunities implies that poverty must be addressed in all its dimensions, not income alone. The Human Development Report 1997 introduced a Human Poverty Index, HPI. It is an attempt to bring together in a composite index the different features of deprivation in the quality of life to arrive at an aggregate judgment on the extent of poverty in a community. 4.5.1 The 3 indicators of the Human Poverty Index, UPI. Rather than measuring poverty by income, the HPI uses indicators of the most basic dimensions of deprivation: a short life, lack of basic education and lack of access to public and private resources. The HPI concentrates on the deprivation in the 3 essential elements of human life already reflected in the HDI: longevity, knowledge and a decent standard of living. The HPI is derived separately for developing countries, HPI-1, and a group of select high-income OECD countries, HPL-2, to reflect better socio-economic differences and also the widely different measures of deprivation in the 2 groups of countries. 1. 3 indicators used to measure deprivation, human poverty, are: the first, deprivation relates to survival, the likeliness of death at a relatively early age, and is represented by the probability of not surviving to ages 40 and 60 respectively for the HPI-1 and HPL-2. The second dimension relates to knowledge, being excluded from the world of reading and communication, and is measured by the percentage of adults who are illiterate. The third aspect relates to a decent standard of living, in particular, overall economic provisioning. For the HPI-1, it is measured by the weighted average of the percentage of the population without access to safe water and the percentage of underweight children for their age. For HPI-2, the third dimension is measured by the percentage of the population below the income poverty line, 50% of median household disposable income. In addition to the 3 indicators mentioned above, The HPI-2 also includes social exclusion, which is the fourth dimension of the HPI-2. It is represented by the rate of long-term unemployment, 4.5.2 measuring inequality, Gender-Related Development Index, GDI, and Gender Empowerment Measure, GEM. The Human Development Report 1995 introduced two new measures of human development that highlight the status of women. The first, Gender-Related Development Index, GDI, measures achievement in the same basic capabilities as the HDI does, but takes note of inequality in achievement between women and men. The methodology used imposes a penalty for inequality, such that the GDI falls when the achievement levels of both women and men in a country go down or when the disparity between their achievements increases. The greater the gender disparity in basic capabilities, the lower a country's GDI compared with its HDI. The GDI is simply the HDI discounting 9, or adjusted downwards, for gender inequality. The second measure, Gender Empowerment Measure, GEM, is a measure of agency. It evaluates progress in advancing women's standing in political and economic forums. It examines the extent to which women and men are able to actively participate in economic and political life and take part in decision-making. While the GDI focuses on expansion of capabilities, the GEM is concerned with the use of those capabilities to take advantage of the opportunities of life. The two measures have been used as advocacy and monitoring tools for gender-related human development analysis and policy discussion. To mark the 10-year anniversary of the GDI and GEM project, the Human Development Report Office sponsored a workshop to evaluate the index in order to identify areas of improvement and also consider alternative measurement tools of gender equity as a key aspect of human development. The review concluded that the index have often been misinterpreted, particularly the GDI. The GDI is not a measure of gender inequality. It is the HDI adjusted for gender disparities in its basic components. To get a measure of gender inequality, one should use the difference or the ratio of two indicators. The GEM, on the other hand, measures political participation and decision-making power, economic participation and command over resources. Its actual implication is that the estimated earned income is used to measure the economic participation which a poor country cannot achieve. It is a high value for the GEM and vice versa for rich countries. In HDR 2006, the GDI and GEM methodologies are applied at the global level to rank 136 countries according to the GDI and 75 countries according to the GEM. The same methodologies can also be applied at the national and subnational levels through disaggregated GDIs and GEMs. It will facilitate the comparison between regions, ethnic groups, and age groups. Moreover, the methodology used to construct the GDI and GEM could be used to assess inequalities not only between men and women but also between other groups such as rich and poor, young and old, etc. Check your progress 3 note. I. Give your answer in the space given below for each question. 2. Check your answer with the preceding text. L. What do you mean by Human Poverty Index? 1. What do you mean by Human Poverty Index? 2. What do you mean by Gender Empowerment Measure? 4.6 Let us sum up. We have in the beginning explained the concept and objective of development. Development implies an overall positive change in the physical quality of life. This positive change for the better encompasses economic as well as social aspects. We have explained that objective of development is to increase the availability and widen the distribution of basic necessities, raise the living standard, to better the culture and humanistic values, removal of disparities, to expand the range of economic and social choice for the human population. We have also explained the concept of human development, i.e., it is about creating an environment in which people can develop their full potential and lead productive and creative lives in accordance with their needs and interests. Some of the main issues and themes currently considered most central to human development include social progress, economics, efficiency, equity, participation, freedom, sustainability, and human security. We have explained the Human Development Indices, i.e. Human Development Indices, Gender-Related Development Indices, the Gender Empowerment Measures, the Human Poverty Index. 4. 7 keywords. Human Development Index, a new way to measure development by combining indicators of life expectancy, educational attainment, and income. Gender Empowerment Index, a means to evaluate progress in advancing women's standing in political and economic forums.
Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.